One morning, my wife Vanessa and I were sitting in our sunny kitchen. It was a quiet time of day, but I could tell she had something important to say. She sat me down and told me she was going away on a work trip that really mattered for her job. She would be traveling with her boss, a man named Richard who had a lot of money and a very big reputation. Vanessa was very careful with her words. She looked me in the eyes and said that this trip was only for business and nothing more. I listened to her, but I had a few questions in my heart. I asked her why the specific work trip needed a fancy private plane and a room at a beautiful, expensive resort right on the edge of the blue ocean. When I asked that, she did not give me a soft answer. Instead, she got quite upset. She told me I was being worried for no reason at all, and that I was being silly for even thinking there was something to ask about. I did not want us to have a big, loud fight that morning. I wanted peace in our home. So I just gave her a kind smile and told her I hoped she had a very safe flight. I did not say another word about it, even though I felt a little bit heavy inside. What Vanessa did not know, and what Richard did not know either, was that I had a very important meeting of my own that day. It was happening at that exact same small airport on that very same morning. I walked into the building carrying my work bag, just like I do every day. As I stepped inside, Richard looked up from where he was sitting. The moment he saw me, his whole face changed. That proud and very confident smile he always wore just disappeared. It vanished from his face without anyone saying even one single word. Richard's face turned as white as a ghost. He looked like he had seen something that truly scared him. He quickly took a few steps away from my wife, Vanessa, as if he wanted to hide. He walked toward me, and I noticed his hand was shaking just a little bit. He reached out to say hello, but his voice was very quiet and sounded very nervous. He said, "Mr. Carter, I really was not expecting to see you here today." Vanessa stood there looking back and forth between the two of us. She looked completely lost and confused by what was happening right in front of her eyes. For a long time, Vanessa had never really looked into work I did at my office. She just thought I worked on small projects or gave simple help to people who needed it. She had absolutely no idea that Richard's whole company had spent the last 6 months trying to make a big deal with the group where I worked. She did not know that I was actually the person who had the final say on the whole thing. If I did not sign the paper, the biggest deal in the history of Richard's company would never happen. It would all just go away. Suddenly, the whole feeling in that airport room shifted. It felt different, like the air had become very still. Vanessa stared at Richard, like she could not believe what she was hearing. She asked him if he really knew me, her husband. Richard swallowed hard, and he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else in the world. He was very uncomfortable. He told her that he did not just know me. He told her that I was the head of the group that decided if his company would succeed or fail in the future. In that 1 second, all the excitement Vanessa had for her trip seemed to go away. For many weeks, she had treated me like I was not important at all. She would spend her time talking about how rich and powerful Richard was. She talked about how much he changed the world. But now, she was starting to see the truth. She was realizing that the husband she did not respect actually held much more power over Richard's career than she had ever dreamed of. Neither of them said anything for a long, long time. The silence inside that airport building became so heavy that it felt like it was pressing down on us. Other people standing nearby even started to notice that something was wrong. Richard quickly asked me to step to the side so we could talk alone for a moment. He wanted to make sure I knew that he had no idea Vanessa was my wife. I just nodded my head in a very calm and quiet way. I told him that whether he knew or not did not change our business meeting that day. When I said that, his shoulders relaxed just a little bit, but he still looked like he was in a lot of trouble. I was not the kind of person who used my job to fix problems in my marriage or my personal life. I truly believe that the business deal should be judged only on if it was good or bad, just like every other plan we looked at. Even though I felt this way, Richard now understood something very big. He saw that the choices we make in our private lives can have results that follow us into our work. This is especially true when people stop being honest and start hiding things from each other. Vanessa walked up to us very slowly and carefully. She was trying to force a tiny smile onto her face, but it did not look real. She asked me why I had never told her how important my job really was. I looked at her and gave her the most honest answer I could. I told her that she never asked me. I told her she was too busy thinking she already knew everything about me that was worth knowing. She looked down at the floor, and I could tell she felt very embarrassed. She was thinking about all the things she had said to me over the last few weeks. Richard could see that this was a private family matter, so he quietly walked away and left us alone. He knew he did not belong in that conversation anymore. As he walked toward the plane, Vanessa whispered to me. She asked if this meant our marriage was over. I looked at her with a heart that felt calm and steady. I told her that the decision was never about my job or how much power I had at work. I told her it was always about the choices she chose to make when she thought no one was looking. Vanessa followed me outside the airport building. She did not look like the confident woman who had sat in the kitchen that morning. She started to beg me to listen to her. She said the trip was not what I thought it was. I stopped walking and looked at her. I asked her one very simple question. I asked her why. If she really thought there was nothing wrong with the trip, she did not tell me it was a private plane with her wealthy boss. She just stood there staring at the ground. She did not say a single word. That silence told me more than any long story ever could. She did not hide the facts because they were small or unimportant. She hid them because she knew in her heart they were wrong. She did not want to be honest with me because she knew I would not like what was happening. Later that afternoon, Richard asked to have a private talk with me before we started our official business meeting. He told me he was very sorry for the awkward and difficult time at the airport. He promised me that their business plan was strong on its own and deserved to be looked at fairly. I told him I appreciate his words, and I made my own feelings very clear. I said that my personal life does not belong in the meeting room. I told him our team would look at his company fairly, just like we would for any other company we help. He looked very relieved to hear that. No matter what happened with Vanessa or how hurt I felt, I would not let it change a decision that affected many workers and their families. Keeping those parts of life separate was very important to me. I did not want to get even or hurt him just because I was going through a sad situation at home. That evening, Vanessa did not go on the trip. She came back home instead of getting on that private plane. She sat down and admitted that she had liked the attention Richard gave her. She liked the idea of the fancy lifestyle and traveled with someone who seemed powerful. She told me she never stopped to think about how much she was hurting our relationship and our trust. She whispered that she kept telling herself it was all harmless fun. I spoke to her very gently. I told her that things that are truly okay and good do not need to be kept as secrets. When I said that, she started to cry. She knew I was right. The problem was never about how much money Richard had or how fancy his plane was. The real problem was about her choosing to be secret and sneaky instead of being open and honest with her husband. She thought a marriage could survive without trust and respect, but she was finding out that it cannot. Over the next few months, Vanessa and I went to see a counselor. We wanted to see if we could fix the broken parts of our marriage. The business deal eventually got approved because it was a good deal for everyone involved, not because of any personal feelings. Some people who heard parts of the story later thought Richard lost the deal because of what happened at the airport. They were very surprised when I told them that was not true at all. Being a good person means you use the same fair rules for everyone, even when you're going through a very hard time. The biggest lesson I learned was not about power or having influence over other people's lives. It was about not letting a broken heart change your values or how you do your job. Looking back, many people remember the moment Richard saw me at the airport, but I remember something else. I remember realizing that fancy titles and having a lot of money do not mean much at all compared to being honest and respectful to the people you love. Vanessa thought success was about private planes and expensive trips. I learned a long time ago that true success is keeping your good character and doing the right thing even when no one else is watching you. Whether we stayed together or not, that was the most important thing to keep. The big surprise that morning was not finding out who was in charge of the business deal. The real surprise was seeing how fast a lie can fall apart when the truth finally walks through the door.